Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So guys, I had to jump on this new story that I saw this morning about the Kingston Technical girls. One who got the Kingston Technical girls, one who got stabbed fatally. So yeah, I had to jump on this one. Actually being a female myself, to having attended one of those rough type of high school, as you would call it, because we know that all is not equal in Jamaica. So it really it quite I was quite compelled today to come and share my thoughts, my comments, i.e. my 2 cents, and how I felt, how I feel about all of this and so on. So the incident happened at KT. That's what, that's the name. That's what we usually call it, because it's practically near my whole alma mater, as you'd call it, or my whole high school. So yeah, KT. KT, that's what we would call it. But the correct name is Kingston Technical High. Now, as with most of the schools that you'll find downtown or so on, KT is not necessarily considered. KT is not one of those top high schools, because in Jamaica it's about grading system, and some schools are higher grades to get in, and some schools are below that. So we know Jamaica is like that. Everything is a grading system. Now, when I saw the stabbing, I watched the video. Oh my days. These videos never cease to diminish or reduce my shock value. Having seen stabbing incidents in schools before, it never reduces the shock value. And sometimes when you see them, even though they're mainly the same, it's just like something out of a war movie, or you wonder if this is real, even though it's something that you experience, even though it's something that you grew up seeing. In someone like myself, it still shocks me whenever I see these things. So yeah, I watched the video, and they just give me a lot of flashbacks, flashback in terms of going to school, what it's like being in one of these high schools. And I say in one of these high schools because, everybody have their own opinion. Everybody's talking about, everybody has their own focus when it comes on to the reason for the student stabbing the next student. Some people are talking about the knife being allowed in school. Some people are talking about why they had the altercation in the first place. But for me, that's not really what stood out to me. I think the greater issue, in my opinion, is culture. And the reason why I say that's the major issue is because my own experience going to school, and I've seen other girls in conflicts. It doesn't really matter if you're on the school compound or if you're outside. So yes, it's well and good that you can have metal detectors in school. Yes, it's well and good that you can have things to check students, which shouldn't be the case, because this is not the case in many traditional high schools in Jamaica. It's just certain high schools that are we call them the rough schools. The rough schools in Jamaica that does have the sort of checks and so on. So for me, I'm not looking at that, because even if you have that, if a girl and a girl are war, or if a boy and a boy, if a guy and a guy are fight in school, two young men fighting, or two young women, and to be honest, when it comes down to high school, certain high schools, it's mostly girls that get into conflicts, cussing and all of that. So like I said, for me, my focus is not on whether she was allowed to get in school with a knife or how she got in school. That is besides the point, because the bigger issue here is culture. And when I say culture, I'm talking about certain parts of Jamaica. I made a video 2 years ago when I just started YouTube. I came out with a video a few weeks into my YouTube, into my old YouTube videos. I came out with a video about upbringing and so on, and how it's important, and how certain schools don't get certain attention that other schools get, and that is one of the major problems in our society. It's well and good for us to talk about how we can tighten up security. That is not the issue, because when you tighten up security, it's not going to change the mindsets of young people from certain background, culture. See what I say? So hear what I said? Culture. Jamaica has different cultures. Believe it or not, certain parts of Jamaica does not conduct themselves in a certain way. Certain parts of Jamaica, it is socially acceptable to conduct yourself a certain way. That is the culture. And this is a problem that spills over into schools, because when it comes on to Jamaica, the system is so messed up that from a child is a toddler going to basic school, the culture starts there in the basic school, and then it comes in the primary school, and then it goes into the high school. What I mean by that, for example, you're from a certain community, where violence or, badness is a culture. It is what you're around, right? And usually you go to a basic school, it's a cultural basic school. Believe it or not, guys. That basic school it tends to adapt to the environment. It tends to adapt to that culture. Meaning that even though you're born in that community and you think that you go to a basic school and it's a bit different, it's usually the same as the community by which it's a part of. And that is where you have that is where you have a conundrum, in the sense that if the basic school is the same as the environment, that means the child is going to the school and it's the same culture. And what you find is that that basic school lead that child onto a primary school, and it's the same culture. I can speak this because this is from experience. This is not me just saying this. This is experience. And then you find that the basic school lead into the primary school, the same culture, meaning the bad manism, the bad humanism. And then, of course, these primary schools are considered the low-class primary schools. And how Jamaica grading system goes, as we call it in my days, GSAT. But now I think they call it PREP. I don't know if they change it. I know they keep changing it. So I don't know what it's called now. But it's like those primary schools are at the bottom of the pile when it comes on to placing children. Because all is not equal in Jamaica. So you find that the top schools, like the prep schools, get first preference. So once again, if you're not extremely good, meaning if you're going to do these cultural bad man, bad woman cultural primary schools, you're pretty much going to end up in another system, in another cultural continuation, meaning the same sort of behavior that was acceptable in that primary school is going to follow on into that high school, because that is how Jamaica is. Like I said, unless you have excelled, and when I mean excel, you have to perform at a triple level of what your counterparts would perform. And I mean like those who attend prep school. So those who attend prep school, that is how you will be able to get out of that culture, right? Meaning escape that culture, because if not, and you perform at a minimum, if not, and the standard that you perform is just basic, you're pretty much going to be placed in one of those cultural high schools, which of course you will just, will be just a continuation of who you are in the first place. Just be a continuation of what you're used to. This is a problem, this is a big problem. And the reason why this is such a big problem, because unless this changes, unless the government, and I've said this in a video before, unless the government really invests in bringing these schools up to par, you'll always have this cultural problem. Because in these sort of schools where there's a bad woman culture, you find that academia is not the focus. I remember one of my friends, we attended the same church. So my church is like, you'd call it like, it's a mixed cultural church. So you have people that, are, in higher society and so on, and those that are from the community. And I remember this young lady, she attended one of those prominent high schools, and I was attending one of these cultural high schools. And we were talking about, why is it that the success rate of these cultural high schools tend to be so low as opposed to these more prominent high schools. And she's saying that if you're attending, for example, a school like Holy Childhood, you're around most people that are of like mind, meaning most people are thinking about how they can get an A, how they can get the highest grade, because that is the culture of that high school, whereas academia is the focus, as opposed to you attending like a bad womanism type of high school, those high schools that are not considered on the top list in Jamaica. Those high schools where I always say are the high schools where they just throw people in, and the standard is not very high at these high schools. So like she was saying to me that the reason why you find the success rate so low in these high schools are because the culture there, meaning most people that goes to these high schools, because they're coming from these primary schools with that mindset of looking pretty, who is the baddest, who can do this, who can do that. And because that is predominantly what's there, because again, it's not that you won't find someone with a negative mindset going to a school like Holy Childhood. It's not that you won't find that. It's that even if someone from one of these badmanism and badumanism type of primary school come into a Holy Childhood and they come with that whole culture, badmanism, they're coming into an environment where it's predominantly academically focused children that are going to be there. So they automatically adapt to that culture, because at the end of the day, it's really about what is the most norm, the norm somewhere. Then people tend to adapt to societal norms, you understand, because nobody wants to be the odd one out, nobody wants to stand out. That is why someone who comes from a bad upbringing or impoverished area or something like that, or a badumanism type of culture, they will easily adapt into a school like Holy Childhood. It's good for them. You tend to see where these people change, in a sense, most of them, because they can't bring that attitude into these high schools. Because one, they're going to be the outcast. So if they start behaving like that, these individuals in these high schools, like the Holy Childhood and the Calabar, they're gonna shun them. So they're gonna be the odd one out, and that is the difference. That is where you have the success, because then the positive overrides the negative, as opposed to in these cultural high schools. It's different. It's the negative that overpowers the positive, and the negative is that you have to show strength in these high schools. When I was going to school, nobody wants to be seen as a loser. Nobody wants to be seen as weak, because, of course, The same way you find that your community, you get looked down upon for being weak, or you have to show so you're the baddest. Same with the boys, same with the girls. You have to show so you're the baddest. You can take, nobody can take your stripe. These are the things that are glorified. These are the things that are glorified in certain parts of society. It is a glorified thing to be tough, to be bad. So when I looked at the video, and it's so crazy because you see the girl that got stabbed fatally, she literally walked up to the other student that stabbed her. She literally walked into her death. And she walked up and the girl held her and stabbed her. And it's because she couldn't show weakness, because the culture of these schools is that if you sit down and make a girl take a stripe, you're an idiot. And it's promoted. You understand? You're a fool. You can't make sure come up with your face. You can't make sure take a stripe. And this is what damages our society. And this is a grave problem, because what it means is that this continues. And it continues because until we can change that mindset, until the mindset change, until the culture change, until it becomes unpopular to be rough, until it becomes unpopular to be dunce, until it's no longer popular to be tough, to be the baddest, then we're gonna improve our society. And the responsibility of the government is that they can help this. Right? Because they can't really just suggest parents alone. Because some parents, trust me, they never get proper parenting either. So they just nurture the problems that we see in our society. And it's just the truth that they help to feed, to nurture these things by what they allow their sort of acceptable norms of what they think their child should be, because that's what they know as a norm. So they feed that onto their child. And that is where we have the problem. So until this get resolved, I've always said this: bringing these schools up to par, investing in these high schools, making them more academic focus, not just from the high schools, starting from the basic schools to the primary schools, where there are so many primary schools that have been neglected, and they have just become a bad man area primary school or a bad woman area primary school. It just become an area primary school where the focus is not there. The children are not being nurtured properly. So they're basically just getting the nurture from their parents, which is not giving them the best upbringing that they need, and the society around them, the environment around them, which is not helping either, because it's all negative. And then they're going into the school and it's all negative. And that is where we have the problem. So it's not even about how well we can secure the schools, because if somebody wants to stab, they're going to come out of school and find the person that they want to stab. It happens all the time, and stab them. So again, it could have happened outside. All these youth care about is how bad they look. Because if you look at that girl that stabbed that girl, she came to kill. And to find a young woman at that age that has that mindset that it's to kill, it tells you so much about the arts of these young people. But it's not a surprise, because that is their culture. It's all about, oh, me a bad girl and you can't chat to me. And this is what is being fed to them. It is their societal norm, and they adapt to that societal norm as the quote unquote cool thing to do. And unless that gets addressed, you will always have this problem. Unless the minds of these young people get worked on, gets changed, something changed. And that's really my thought today. Guys, sad video. Like I said, shock value never ceases to traumatize me when it comes on to these type of videos. Because just to see how cold and heartless even these young people are. And it just shows you the problem in our society, and how much trouble us as a nation is in. So guys, if you've made it this far into the video, please do give it a thumbs up, guys. Please do share your thoughts, comments in the comment section. Tell me what you think. What are your thoughts on this incident and the video that I presented to you? My thoughts as well. What are your thoughts? Please do share. And thank you for watching. Until next time, Godspeed. Big ups. Bye guys. Bye.